good sign that you guys flipped the switch from how big of a weekend it was for you all?
Yeah, I think kind of a little bit of the conversation we had today was, each day's kind of got its own unique flavor or brand to it. And then, the environment today was different because the fans made it so electric this past weekend. But we still had a good crowd tonight. A team that's given some other, Power 5 schools or whatever you want to call it fits. So there was plenty on our plate, but the guys put their own little spin on it and had really good energy. And if anything, kind of rode that wave from the weekend into today.
9 different pitchers all through, no walks. Just how happy is Frank with that?
I think he expects it. So I don't know. Maybe he gets happy every now and then. He's hiding it from me, but I think part of the plan is for him to have them in a good position to do that. Of course, he's calling pitches too. They're an aggressive swinging team, but when you got that many guys roll out there, if you're just going to go off the sample size or the different things that can happen, it's pretty impressive. So, but other than one team that's on our schedule and will be here in a couple weeks, it's the best strike throwing group in the country.
You got a guy like Ron Miller that hasn't had too many opportunities, but obviously made the most of everything he had tonight. Is that just really good to see?
Yeah, I think the door's still open for a lot of things. We've done a lot of mixing and matching, and eventually we've talked about we got to kind of ride out the guys we feel are best in whatever situation on the mound, positionally or at the plate. But there's still room for things to go on, and all he's done is make the most of every opportunity he gets, and he gets better every day in between games. So, and he's pretty versatile too. Tease him about how he does at other positions and whatnot, but the kid works hard at being more than just a catcher, and then you see the kind of sock he's got in the bat too.
Him and Chapman, could you see a situation to where maybe they get a shot in an SEC game?
Yeah, I do, especially after tonight. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I answer that quickly because we just got done talking about it. And, you don't know what would happen or what, wouldn't happen if this guy was in this spot or this guy, the bottom line is, a player, you need to get better every day. You need to be ready when your number's called, and then you just need to enjoy it. And I think both those guys have done that again anytime we've given them the opportunity. And I certainly trust both of them on the bases for the most part defensively. Like I said, with Ryan Miller, it just kind of depends on where you put him position-wise. But both of them got as much sock in the bat as you'd want. And they're both guys, too, with some quick twitch to them. I mean, the one thing that happens in our league is everything kind of speeds up a little bit in some categories at least, and in particular with velocity and things like that. And that's something those guys can handle.
What has led to more Cal starts behind the plate over the past couple weekends?
Yeah, I mean, I think really those three guys are equal in a lot of categories, and then there's one category where you'd rank somebody separate from the others. But if you're just going to go with the overall vibe, he's given us a lot of energy and enthusiasm back there, and he's done a good job of just kind of managing situations, whether it be a defensive play or getting a pitcher to work with him in sync. So it's just been a good vibe, to be honest with you. And he's got the capability too of running one out of the park or just get on base by hit by pitch. A versatile hitter. I mean, I don't think he isn't capable of doing anything you could come up with offensively, but the main thing is behind the plate, just kind of the overall vibe.
Why'd y'all decide to bring Sumo in the middle of the game and not start him?
Just kind of, something that stems maybe from, similar to what we did with Jazzy when he filled in well for a guy. I mean, Kendro got our offense going technically, or at least the first RBI, and played really well on the defensive end of things. So wanted him to be rewarded for that. And, I think, too, as we get into these midweek games, you got to be on the hunt for as many wins as you can, in particular this time of year. But we also kind of sit up in the office and figure out, well, if Plan A happens, how would we kind of want to manage guys?
How confident are you that the way this team's played the past few games will carry into this next weekend?
I like being at home. I can tell you that. I think the thing that I'm encouraged by is that they kind of started to create some trends. We were talking about that after the game on Sunday. So my confidence lies in the fact that if they kind of continue down the path they are of the team bonding thing or chemistry or environment, everything that goes under that umbrella, then I will feel much more confident in the dugout. So that's kind of where my focus is them kind of maintaining the attitude and the energy that they've had. And it's a little different. It's a quirky group, fun, but when they're more relaxed and they're playing and they're kind of playing their game, not trying to, be pleasers. I don't want to get into that stuff too much, but then it's a group that makes me feel good about our chances, and then of course going into any game, including if you look at these guys' box scores, you can't predict the score, but again, you feel good about it.
First Thursday series for your new look rotation, will those guys shift up a day?
Yeah, I believe so. Lindsey 2 weeks in a row now could have went longer. And then the other two guys, it was nice that they got to 100 pitches, I believe, for the first time this year. So you could say on one hand, they got to 100 pitches, are they good to whatever. One day is not that big of a difference on the short rest, but in particular, those two guys, probably all of our pitchers, to be honest with you. I mean, Kirby's had a ton of appearances, but not a lot of output on the inning. There's probably a lot of guys that are looking at me saying, give me more. So I like the fact that all those guys should be ready and fresh and eager to pitch at home. Like I said, it's kind of a rare deal. We've only opened up at home in SEC play once of the last 7 years. So to be at home at any time makes us feel good, but back-to-back weekends, which is odd. We're glad it popped up this year.
Do you like that it's kind of an earlier series this week because of the way you're playing right now?
Yeah, I hadn't given it much thought, but I think this time of year, you want to just keep playing. It's, practice is going to be involved, and you do need to make adjustments and things like that, and school is still going on, but you eventually kind of get to this part of the year where it's all about the games, and the weather gets good, and the competition is great, and the distractions or the things you got to handle off the field start to disseminate a little bit. So, it makes sense, the point you make, but overall, I think the guys are going to be eager no matter what day it is just to play ball.
So how tough can it be for a player to kind of stay ready, because I guess you're, at the 2/3 or 3/4 part of the season now, and guys like Miller and Chapman to go in there and look hot like that when they get it. I mean, how tough can that be as a player to do that?
No, it's hard, and if I were to compliment our staff with that answer, it'd be just ask us what you think's going on. I think what makes it even more difficult is if you're sitting there stewing and trying to wonder what the coaching staff thinks of you or what their plan is. And a lot of times the answers are much more simple than maybe you create in your head. So it shouldn't be a challenge to get better every day, because if you really enjoy doing this, then you're going to be eager to do that. But to get better with in mind what you're saying, to be ready for your chance and sit and be patient at times, that's a real challenge. And what makes it worse is if you start playing guessing games and things like that. So I don't know that we paint like the clearest picture ever for them what might come up, but they know that, maybe it's for recruiting purposes or developmental purposes or just to reward guys that work hard. They know that we want to use guys. We don't like when guys only have so many at-bats or they're sitting there in the dugout and they're only a cheerleader. So I think that helps incentivize them a little bit too and makes them stay ready.
What do you know about Mississippi State?
I think Frank and I were talking back in the locker room. There's a good handful of hitters that were a part of that group last year. We finished there, so it feels a little more recent. I know that sounds crazy, but it was the last weekend of the year, so it feels a little more recent. You have memory of those 5 or 6 guys that are returners in that lineup. I do know they play a handful of young guys too, though, a good amount. So it'll be interesting to size up that position size group. And then, you got the pitcher, ambidextrous pitcher. Glad I didn't say amphibious. Ambidextrous pitcher and, some other guys too that we know from the recruiting grounds. It's a school that we run into, really all the SEC schools, but, that we run into often. So a lot of these names, when you go back over the roster of the scouting report, it pops back into your head and you know a little bit about them from that stuff.
Do you think guys maintain that kind of fun attitude if maybe you get rattled on a Thursday night?
Let's stay positive around here, man. But no, death and taxes and then SEC play, adversity, that's coming. So you make a good point. And it could just be one call, or it could be the scoreboard, or it could be, Heck, it could be anything. Scouting report says this guy's stuff is like this. All of a sudden he added a new pitch or something like that, and we don't have it. So it can come in a lot of different forms, and that challenge is on the table. I haven't made that big of a deal about it. I think we're deep enough into the year, and we've kind of taken enough blows or had enough adversity that they know it. That the challenge is, can you maintain a good energy and ride that wave a little bit, like I said, when it's going well, and when it's not, can you take a deep breath or just help your teammate, whatever you got to do to steer the ship so it's going back on the course that you want it to.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.